All right, welcome back to the EFA podcast. Today, I'm here with Mattias.
Hello.
Um, if you're watching on YouTube, this is a little bit you can see us. It's a little bit new to us, so apologies if some weird happens. Um, Today we're at, like I said, we're here with Mattias. Hayden's gonna join us in a little bit for picks, and yeah, I think just get right into it. We do have some questions, but I think we'll do those with Hayden later as well. So let's just get into top five, I guess. So if you want to start with five, that'd be good.
Yeah. So at five, I have a tie. Actually, I put Minka and Terrell Edmonds there because they're if you don't know, they're both the Steelers safeties, and I mean that they both had two interceptions. And I mean more than one interception is always like a rare stat to see, but yeah, I mean although it is impressive, those were two picks on Jake Luton, so you know, that might affect it a little bit. That's why it's not higher, but still, two picks is, always an impressive stat line. So
Yeah, I agree. It is Jake Luton. He's young, um, and they also are the Jaguars, so it's not as impressive as it would have been against the Chiefs or Patrick Mahomes. But I think we were both kind of wrong with Jaguars being kind of like that upset special. I guess that would be the game. That would have been the game to me. That would have been that trap game to me. Um,
yeah,
but I mean, in the first quarter, it looked like the Jags could have done it, but it all just went downhill from there. My five is Melvin Gordon. He had 15 rushes, 84 yards, and two touchdowns, and they only scored two touchdowns against the Dolphins, who kind of struggled. Um, Tua got sacked like six times, but I'm talking about Melvin Gordon right now. Um, hasn't really been the same Melvin Gordon as he was in the past with the Chargers, and I think Philip Lindsay kind of takes away from that a little bit. He doesn't get as many touches, but he did really play. He played really well against Miami, and Miami's defense has been really good. Like from weeks 3 to now week 11 or week 10, I guess. But yeah, they've looked really good, and I thought he looked really good. And the 84 yards, like I think the two touchdowns kind of makes up for that lack lack of yardage. So that's why I have him at five.
yeah, yeah. Definitely doing that against the Miami defense is impressive. Um, my number four is Cameron Jordan, who had three sacks. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is his first week where I would have put him in like a top five of the of this season. Uh, their defense for a while was a little shaky and kind of unimpressive for what most people were expecting from them, but I think they've picked it up since then. Um, yeah, I think I've said this before a couple times, but three sacks is just, it's a great stat line. Anything more than three or more is usually player of the week worthy. So
Yeah, I think three sacks for really anyone is like there's a lot of guys that can't even get three sacks in like 4 or 5 games. So to get three in one, that's huge. My number four is Keenan Allen. He had 16 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Um, didn't really get to watch this game, so I can't really explain much about it. But I know Justin Herbert played really well, as you'll see later. But I like 145 yards and a touchdown. Again, it is against the Jets, but the Chargers have also been struggling, and that was only a 6 point win. So that touchdown does kind of show something, and it shows up on the scoreboard, 100%. So I have him at four.
yeah, I had him on my fantasy team, so I was happy. But for me at number 3, I have Justin Herbert, who again the Chargers were playing the Jets, so but he had 366 yards and 3 touchdowns. Uh yeah, I mean with Burrow out, I think he's a clear offensive rookie of the year. Burrow, I think, was his really only contender unless Clyde Edwards-Helaire really picks it up. Um, and yeah, I saw the numbers he was on track for, and it was like maybe 4,700 yards, like 37 touchdowns.
All
Um,
you really need to know is that he was on track for first in every category you could think of for a rookie. So that's a huge
yeah,
season.
yeah, ever. So
Yeah,
he's definitely one of the best rookie QBs I've ever seen, and I didn't see it coming, but he had a great week.
yeah, like you said, kind of surprising. Like I didn't think he would start. I, but I mean, Taylor obviously with the unlucky, what was it, lung injury, right? You got like he got stabbed in the lung or something by a team doctor, like trying to. I don't really know the
Oh
full story,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, but like
I forgot that.
I didn't think Herbert would start, and I mean, thank God for the Chargers he did, even though like that 3-7 record doesn't show it. But yeah, I agree. He also is my three, so like you kind of touched on everything. He was 37 for 49, 366 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's a huge game, and yeah, he's looked good all year. And then that unfortunate Burrow injury, like that kind of puts him at one in the running for offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, yeah. My number 2 is Adam Thielen, who had 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Um, yeah, I mean the Cowboys secondary is not that impressive, but still those. I mean, he had that great one-handed catch in the end zone. Um, and yeah, I mean him and Justin Jefferson are a great duo in Minnesota. If he was younger, it'd be a great duo for the future, but it's a great duo for now. How old is he? Is he? Huh.
I don't know. He's
I feel like he's.
like in his older 20s, like upper 20s, like 28, 29, maybe
Oh,
even older.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, they're a great duo for now.
yeah. He's
And Justin Jefferson.
yeah, yeah. He's also my two. Thielen's 30. Like again, you kind of mentioned everything. Like the one-handed catch in the end zone was great. He had 8 catches, 123 yards. But he's kind of with Diggs leaving, like he was still good with Diggs here, and he kind of like I think with him gone, he kind of improved. And I mean, like last year, the last few years, I should say, Diggs has been double covered, so he's kind of had an easy, not easy, but like easier way towards like how good he has been. But this year, like he's the number one guy, right? I don't think Jefferson's there yet. So for him to still be putting up the numbers that he was last year, that's really impressive.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And yeah, props to him. At number 1, I had Deshaun Watson, who had 344 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 36 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Um, I mean, another great Sunday play was his truck into the end zone. But yeah, I mean, he just kind of put the Texans on his back. I mean, he's been playing great all year, but this is definitely his best game. Um, he, yeah, I mean, I think it's it feels a little unfair that all these other franchise quarterbacks are coming in and getting all this success because they have, good coaches and good teams built up around him. And I think we've really seen this year that he is the only thing that the Texans have holding them up to not being like one of the worst teams in the like bottom three in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If they didn't have Watson, they wouldn't have even won those two Jags games most likely. So they would have been, and then they wouldn't have beat the Patriots. So they would be up there with the Jets. Um, I swear you copied me because I have Deshaun Watson as one as well. And you said it like he he just put the team on his back, and I know like he had the rough first drive, but I remember texting you after the second drive. I was like, that is his best drive he's had all season. He had like three darts, like could not place the ball better than he did, and like I give him credit. I mean, it was against the Patriots, who's, as you guys know, that's my team. So it was kind of hard to watch, but I do like Deshaun Watson, so I do give him
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll let Hayden join. In the meantime, I don't know if you want to talk about the Burrow injury real quick. Like, how do you think they'll
Yeah,
do without
sure.
Burrow?
I mean, I'd say the best thing for them is just tank for the season, pick up Penei Sewell, hopefully. Um, I mean, he's generational. I think he'll come in right away, be like great protection for him so that he doesn't get injured again. And I really just think at this point he should not be they should not be trying to win.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
yeah. And Hayden's here, so
I,
yeah, we were just talking about the Burrow injury. So I don't know
yeah,
if
that
you
kind
if you have anything to add to that, or if we just get right into the picks.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure you guys have already said anything I could say.
Well, we kind of just started, so we don't really have anything. But if you want to, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think Joe Burrow is one of the tougher kids in the league. I think he said afterwards, you can't take him down that easy. I think he's right, and this is a really terrible injury. Obviously, like this is probably worse than even Dak Prescott's injury. This is probably going to be like a 10-month long recovery
Yeah,
period.
yeah,
At the same time, I think he can come back. And hopefully, this is a lesson to Cincinnati, and they'll actually improve their offensive line,
yeah,
and so that this doesn't happen again. But hopefully he gets better.
yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, so start off. We got some Thanksgiving football Thursday. 3 games. We got Houston going into Detroit.
Yeah, so I have Houston winning. They're obviously played pretty impressive last week, and the Lions just didn't look that good. Um, they weren't moving the ball incredibly well against Carolina, which I mean, I don't really think Houston's defense is better than Carolina's, or like it might be a little bit, but Houston is going to score more than Carolina, I think, off of just plays by Deshaun Watson. So
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Mattias. Houston, they just beat New England, and I think New England is better than Detroit. So as long as Houston can do the same thing they did last week, I think they really shouldn't struggle with Detroit. But you know, you never know. But I don't think Detroit has what it takes to pull it off this year or any year really. With as long as Matt Patricia is the head coach, so I'm gonna go with Houston too.
Yeah, I also have Houston. Detroit, they didn't put a single point on the board last week. So I think they'll get a few at least this week. But me and Mattias already talked about it. Like Deshaun Watson kind of put the Texans on his back last week, and if he can keep that up, I think this should be a easy win for Houston. So all right, Washington heads into Dallas. Who you got?
I have Dallas winning. Andy Dalton's back. He played a decent game last week. Zeke looked like he's back in form a little bit. And yeah, I think the Cowboys, now that Dalton is back, if Zeke plays okay, you know, their wide receivers have been a constant through this whole thing. I I think that they're kind of back to being able to push other teams in games now. And I think Washington is one of those teams that they're going to be able to beat.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Mattias again. I really don't think there's any reason why Dallas should lose this game. I think they are better than Washington. I mean, Washington, their whole quarterback situation. I don't think Alex Smith is really going to be able to take them to any wins. And I think even though Dallas's defense has been struggling a lot throughout the season, I think the Washington offense is a little bit worse. And like Mattias said, as long as the Dallas offense clicks together, then this should be a win for them.
I'm gonna have to disagree with both of you. I have Washington. I just have a feeling. Dallas did get the win against Minnesota last week, but I feel like maybe there's gonna be a little bit of drop off heading into, like, it's a short week. I just feel like Washington. I have faith in Alex Smith. I like Alex Smith. That comeback is really good. Um, so I hope he can maybe even lead them. I mean, the NFC East is really just anyone's game right now. So I maybe Washington makes the playoffs in the NFC East. It all just really it just needs to fall into place for them. And I think this is a game that they need to win in order for that to happen. So I have Washington. All right.
I just can't see that.
Yeah. All right.
Can't
So
see it.
most likely probably the game of the week, we got Baltimore and Pittsburgh Sunday night or Thursday night.
Yeah, so I feel like Baltimore through the past couple of weeks, I feel like I have Baltimore winning. I feel like Lamar Jackson, I do trust in him. I think he's just gonna hopefully have that mentality going into this game that is a must win, because it is. The AFC is so good this year. They even to make it into the wild card, they need to keep winning. And yeah, I hopefully he'll just have that mentality to be able to, push through the Steelers defense and play well. Um, and yeah, I think after this week, the Pittsburgh will not be undefeated anymore.
I'm going to disagree with Mattias here. I think that, I think Baltimore can be a little hit or miss at sometimes. It really all depends on Lamar Jackson. I think their defense will be able to pull through, and they'll be able to have a solid game against the Pittsburgh offense. At the same time, on the other side of the ball, I think the Pittsburgh defense is going to be good enough where they can at least shut down, hold the Ravens offense to 20 points around there. And I think that Big Ben will be able to put up a little bit more than that. Like Drew said, I think this will be the game of the week. I think it'll probably be within 3 points by the end, or maybe somewhat low scoring, 23-20. But I think the Pittsburgh defense is too good.
Yeah. I agree with both of you. Like, you both made good points. I do have Pittsburgh, but like Mattias said, I think this is, and for Baltimore, they need to have that mentality. Like, this is a must-win game, because the AFC is just, they can't. What are they, 6-4 right now? Right, 6-4, 6-5.
Okay, I can check.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're 6-4. So, this, they can't, if they lose this game, they're 11-5. Or the best they can do is 11-5. So, in the AFC, where the 7th wildcard team is 7-3 and is on track for even going for a 13-3 record, that's just not like Mattias said. They're just so good. You have to win this game. But I think Pittsburgh is going to be able to pull it out this week. So yeah, I got Pittsburgh.
And you're right, they are 6-4, and they've lost their last two. Obviously, the New England game, you can kind of put that a bit on the weather, but last week against Tennessee, there wasn't no weather involved. So that's two close games that they really should have won. They've lost, so maybe they continue the trend.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry kind of like over the past 2 years, he's kind of owned the Baltimore defense. So
I
was
still
I'm gonna,
stand.
what?
I still stand by not blaming Lamar. I don't think they have not provided like Mark Andrews. From what I've watched this year, has had a bit of a drop problem, and he's their best receiver. So and then their franchise left tackle is out for the year. I in a year where you know in a year like that, you can't expect him to play as well as he did last year.
Yeah, I don't think it's Lamar's fault at all. I think they just need to come together as a team and kind of win this game. It's not they shouldn't go to the blame shouldn't go towards any one guy. All right, heading into Sunday, we got Arizona and New England.
Yeah, so I have Arizona winning. Um, I I just think Arizona has been pretty good recently. I mean, obviously they had the loss to Seattle this week, but Seattle, I think at this point is a playoff team, and you know, again, as Drew mentioned earlier, I do think that a lot for them just rides on Kyler because he'll be an MVP candidate one week, and then next week he'll just he'll kind of look pretty much as good as he did his rookie year. So I do think if he does have one of those games though, New England could get a win here if Cam Newton is playing decently.
I've said this before, and I'll repeat it here. I think the Patriots have historically, or at least in like the last 5 years, have struggled with mobile quarterbacks. Kyler Murray right now, obviously one of the most mobile quarterbacks in this league. And so I think that as long as Arizona is able to take advantage of their ground game, especially with him, I don't think our defense will be able to stop it. I don't think we have the linebackers to do it, and I don't really think we have the defensive line to do it, stop him at the line. And I think the offense has just been struggling a bit too much in the past weeks. It was good last week to see Demir Bird have a great game. And, see Cam Newton playing. He's been stepping up lately, but I still just don't think the offense is good enough to, win you these key games where you're kind of coming in as an underdog.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out real quick. The last time you said that they've struggled with mobile quarterbacks, they've won. It was Lamar Jackson a few weeks ago.
Okay, well, it was pouring rain that game.
So,
I think I deserve a bit of a pass on that.
Yeah, I gotta agree with both of you. I also have Arizona. Obviously New England's been off to the worst start since before. I think it was like the year before Brady came in. So they just haven't looked the same, and obviously, like Hayden said, the offense just isn't. It just isn't as. It's not a playoff offense, I guess. So I think, and then if you switch sides to the Cardinals, I think they have a playoff. They're a playoff team, and I think that's kind of locked in at this point, unless they somehow lose out. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm gonna take Arizona, as much as it hurts me as a Pats fan, but I'll take Arizona. All right, Vegas heads into Atlanta.
I have Vegas winning. I feel like they definitely put a lot of teams on watch, just competing with the Chiefs, which that's tough to do. One of their games they beat them. The other game it was very close, and it was all down to a Patrick Mahomes 2-minute in the last 2-minute drive. So Derek Carr has looked different to me this year. He's looked really good, like he's kind of buying into what they're doing there. Um, I, I think the Falcons defense is not going to have much of an answer for their passing game and Josh Jacobs. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. I have Las Vegas winning this one. They're coming off a game that really they probably could have won. They were 2 minutes away from victory. The defense kind of keeled over on that last Mahomes drive. But, I think you're coming in here against Atlanta, a team that really does not have anywhere near the same offense that Kansas City does. So I expect this to really not be all that close. And I think we see Las Vegas win by 2 or 3 scores at least.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I also have Las Vegas. I think I agree with Mattias. For them, like they kind of put a lot of teams on watch, like competing with Kansas City, and that was just kind of like Mattias. Mattias texted us and said that was kind of a crappy way to end a great game, but and then Hayden, you did say like that's kind of Carr, like that's you kind of expect that from Derek Carr, but I think Atlanta struggled with Taysom Hill, who's far more mobile than Derek Carr is, but I think Derek Carr is overall the better quarterback. So I'm gonna take Vegas and probably like Hayden said 2-3 score game. Chargers and Bills.
I have the Bills winning. I think, I don't. I think the Chargers are gonna keep it really close because they always keep it close. But I could also see this being kind of a game where the Bills are shocked by the Chargers and by a great game by Herbert. But the Bills defense has stepped it up in the second half of the year so far. They've looked they've looked elite. Josh Allen seems to have regained his form, and if Josh Allen and the defense can both play up to how they have been in the second half of the year, in the second half of the year, then I think that I think the Chargers can't really compete with a team like that. Or well, they can compete because, like I said, they compete with everyone, even KC, but I just think they can't in crunch time. I just think they can't pull through.
Yeah, I'm like Mattias, going with the Bills for kind of the same reason. The Chargers, like you said, they've had a lot of close games this season, but they've never really been able to come out with a win. I don't really think this one will be all that close. I think Buffalo is still a little bit ahead of where Los Angeles is, but in a couple of years, when this matchup happens again down the road, I think this will be one of the best games that we see. But as of right now, I think Buffalo is the better team, and they're going to get the win this week.
Yeah, I also have Buffalo. I just think, like Mattias, you guys kind of touched on everything. Yeah, Buffalo should be able to win this game. They're the better team. I don't know. Like Mattias said, I don't know if it's more they're gonna be shocked by a good game from Herbert. I think it would be if they do lose this game. I think it would be more Josh Allen doesn't play like he has been like the past few weeks, and it's just a bad game from the Bills in general, less of a good game from the Chargers. But I do think it will be a 1-score game, and I think it'll be another like this the Chargers like they can't catch a break. I think it's gonna be another one of those weeks. So I'm still gonna take the Bills, but it'll be a close game, I think. Giants and Bengals.
So, as I said earlier, the Bengals I do not think should be trying to win this year anymore. I think if I was ahead of that team, I'd want to stay in the top 3 of this coming draft to get a franchise left tackle for Burrow. Injuries like that just can't happen to your franchise QB. obviously they hit with him, and their Burrow is their guy now. Now they need to put stuff around him so that he's protected and he can become the Pro Bowler, maybe even All Pro guy that we all kind of saw from him this year. And at Penei Sewell, I think is the perfect guy to do that. So I do think that they should be looking to lose out. That's what I would say.
I'm with Mattias in agreeing that they should lose out at this point. But even, I don't even think they have to try to tank. I think it is going to happen. I think this team struggled enough. Burrow at the quarterback with Burrow starting, and Burrow wasn't the problem. There's just so many holes around him and on defense. I think they're going to struggle to win any games for the rest of the season. But as for this game, the Giants are kind of in that same area. They're kind of just as bad. But, I think considering that Cincinnati's going to be having a backup. Who's the backup? Is it Ryan Finley?
Ryan Finley,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really see a way that the Cincinnati offense can pull through even against the Giants. So I'm going to go with the Giants, but this is going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, I agree. I think this comes down to like it's going to be a backup quarterback versus a starting quarterback who's played all season, and I think Daniel Jones is going to be able to play better than Ryan Finley, and I agree with Hayden. I think they should tank, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think they're going to try and do it. I think it's just going to kind of happen. So, this would be a game to lose though if you are Bengals and if they are trying to win. I would say this is definitely a game to lose. So I'm taking the Giants. Probably another game of the week candidate. We got Tennessee and Indianapolis.
Yeah, so are they both 7-3? I think they are, right?
Yep.
So this game could definitely, put or obviously for this week it's gonna put a leader in the division, but set the leader for the rest of the year. And I have the Colts. Obviously they beat the Packers last week, which that was a great game. Their defense has been great all year. If I remember right, last time they met, Derrick Henry did not do fantastic.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I think that was like his first under 100-yard game. He had like a 3-game streak or something. That was like his first under 100 or something like that. I just know he didn't produce.
Yeah, so I just think the Colts have been pretty great so far. Phillip Rivers, I think, has obviously he's not been great, but he's been he's been good enough to lead the stacked team that's around him to the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. And I think right now they're the 4th and 5th seeds in the AFC, and I really think this could honestly be a preview of a matchup we see wild card weekend. And I think Indianapolis won the first matchup, but I think Tennessee can pull through this time. Last time Derrick Henry, I think like you guys said, wasn't his best game ever. He might be able to perform a bit better this time. And I think hopefully the Tennessee defense has learned a bit, about what went wrong last time against Indianapolis. And I think this time they can shut down Phillip Rivers. So I'm going to go with Tennessee in a close game.
Yeah, I have Indianapolis. I agree with what Mattias said. I think this kind of puts a division lead. I think this will put a division winner for the end of the year. I think if Tennessee wins, it's still kind of back and forth. I think it could go either way. But if Indianapolis wins, they've got they've got the head-to-head against Tennessee. So I'd give it to Indianapolis, obviously. But so this is for both teams. It's a huge must-win game. But I think Indianapolis is the better team, coming off probably a bigger win against Green Bay. So I'll take Indy. Browns and Jaguars.
So I have the Browns winning. Um, Jake Luton was not good last week. I think he had 0 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And yeah, the Browns I think are pretty good this year. I do think they are worse than 7-3 shows because I think they've beaten one team above 500 so far. And yeah, I do think that they're gonna win here, and probably I do think they are a playoff team this year, but I don't think they're going to do that much in the playoffs. So
Yeah, I agree. I think the Browns are going to win. I think this would almost be a motivational game for them. They should be able to beat Jaguars pretty badly. I don't think the Jaguars are going to put up any kind of a fight in this game. So I think this should kind of almost be a showcase for Cleveland. Hopefully they can go out, they can score 30 points. They hold the Jaguars to 10 or less. And hopefully it can kind of be a big motivational piece for the rest of their season.
Yeah. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. I think Cleveland should win this game. Yeah, I don't think there's really much to say on it. They're not Jaguars are. They could be up there in as the worst team in the league discussion with the Jets. If the Jets also had a win or the Jaguars were also winless, I think that would be they could possibly be the worst team in the league. But I think this should be a no-brainer. I have Cleveland. Um, all right, Carolina plays Minnesota.
so I have the Vikings winning. Um, how long is Teddy Bridgewater out? Is he playing this week or?
There's been he said Matt Rule said he could practice this week, but I don't think there's any word on if he's gonna play or not yet, at least as of recording.
Okay, so I think that's definitely like a factor because the Vikings just came off of a loss to the Cowboys, and I think that Carolina with Bridgewater is better than the Cowboys and can beat them. But when I was making this pick, I was thinking Bridgewater is still out, and I think that the Vikings can definitely beat the Panthers without Bridgewater. Uh, the yeah, I Kirk Cousins was pretty decent last week. The loss was not his fault. It was, I think, mostly on the defense. Um, yeah, I think it definitely hinges on if Bridgewater's back.
This is the first game that I'm kind of unsure of. Oh, I like Carolina. I think PJ Walker was pretty good last week. I don't think McCaffrey will be back yet, so they'll still be rolling with Mike Davis. I don't know. The Vikings offense has struggled this season, but they've been picking it up lately over the past couple of weeks. Thielen and Jefferson have been really good. Cousins has gotten better. I think Dalvin Cook is finally hitting stride. So I think as long as the same Minnesota offense shows up that we've seen the past couple of weeks, then I think they can win here. So I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be probably like the best of the worst games for this week. Like it's probably has nothing to do with playoff contention. Although Minnesota is kind of climbing up there if they can keep up keep up what they were doing before the Cowboys loss. I think PJ Walker, he played pretty well as a backup. It was his first start in the NFL. So I think it'll be close, but I think Minnesota's going to get it. I think Dalvin Cook will run all over the Panthers defense, they're still young, but they are talented. But I think Dalvin Cook's going to get the best of them. So I'm going to take Carolina. I'm going to take Minnesota over Carolina. All right. Jets are looking to get their first win of the season over the Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna get it. I think that was a weird fluke that the Dolphins lost to the Broncos last week. Yeah, I think Tua. They said Tua is going to start again, or Flores says Tua will start again, and this could be like a showcase game for him. Like for a lot of QBs, their game against the Jets has been like, that is a caliber of game that is top 5 player of the week or something with 2-3 touchdowns, 250 plus yards. The Jets defense is just not talented. The whole team's not talented. So I think the Dolphins will definitely win, and Tua will probably have his best on paper looking game of his career so far.
Yeah, so like Mattias said, I think the Dolphins game last week was kind of a fluke. And I don't think, I think, there was a lot of pressure applied on Tua, not from the coaches, but from the defensive line of Denver. And I don't think the Jets will be able to provide that same kind of pressure at all. So, I think as long as, Tua is able to be able to stay composed in the pocket, the offensive line does its job. I think this should be a pretty simple game for the Dolphins. But, it would be very 2020-esque if the Jets were able to get their first win this way.
Yeah, I think this is another no-brainer. I also have Miami. I think the Tua getting benched was just as much him being non-productive as it was they want to keep him healthy. Like he got sacked 6 times or something. So I don't think Tua should get affected by that benching, but yeah, I think he should come. I mean, he got his first few plays in the NFL against the Jets, and I think if he can play a full game, I think it should be an easy. And if he can play a full game well, I think it should be an easy win for Miami. All right, Broncos and Saints.
So I have the Saints winning. Taysom Hill was great last week. Also, the Broncos are just kind of a weird team this year. I don't really know what games they can and can't win. Like, I think this is definitely a game they'll lose, but just beating Miami, that was very surprising to me. And Drew Lock has just been a weird up and down turnover roller coaster. But yeah, I think Taysom Hill will probably have another decent game. And I think the Broncos don't have the talent right now to hang in there with a team like the Saints.
I was going to say this is a no-brainer, but, Denver did manage to beat Miami last week, so maybe it's not that much maybe it's not a no-brainer, but, I think the Saints are all-around better team on all sides of the ball. They probably, it's probably like a 75% chance the Saints win, so I am going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, I think if we were to make this pick a week ago, like before Taysom Hill played very well against Atlanta, I think I probably would have had Denver here, just because I wouldn't have trusted Taysom Hill, but he played very well and obviously showed he can play quarterback. So, I'm still kind of surprised they didn't start Jameis Winston there, but if he can play as well as he did against Atlanta, then I just if he's able to escape the pocket and get upfield, like that should be, like Hayden said, not a no-brainer, but probably an easy pick for New Orleans here. A potential Super Bowl preview between the Chiefs and Bucks.
I have the Chiefs winning. I am not really convinced of the Bucks yet. I mean, I feel like they sort of remind me of the Packers, where like they dominate teams who are not contenders and kind of struggle with teams who are in that upper echelon. Obviously, like the Packers game, that completely stands out because that's another contender that they completely mop the floor with. But yeah, I just think Patrick Mahomes is probably, definitely, because I think he's the best QB in the league right now. going to be the best QB that the Buccaneers defense has played yet this year, and they're still pretty young, so that'll take some in-game adjustment. And yeah, I think that the Chiefs, now they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, can attack you both ways. I don't really know if there's a team that I would pick against them for this year right now. So,
Yep, I'm going to go with the Chiefs too. I think Tom Brady is coming off his worst game of the season. I think his completion percentage was around 50%, only threw for 175 yards, multiple interceptions. It was not his day Monday night, and maybe it's rare that Tom Brady has two terrible games back to back, but I think the Chiefs are good enough where maybe they can force that. But I think Tom Brady always tends to play at least decently against the Chiefs. At least when he was in New England, he did, except for last season. It wasn't his best game, but I think Tampa Bay, like Mattias said, they have a young up and coming defense, but I also don't think that defense is ready yet to shut down an offense that's as powerful as Kansas City's. You got multiple receivers you have to shut down completely. You got to shut down Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You still have to shut down Travis Kelce on top of that. So I don't know. I think there's just too many weapons that Kansas City has, and I have to go with them.
Yeah. It was a few weeks ago, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, on one of our episodes. Me and Mattias both had the Chiefs and Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. We both. I'm pretty sure he had KC winning. I had Tampa Bay winning. And it would literally be a Super Bowl preview because it takes place in Tampa. So I'm gonna have to switch my pick here. I'm going KC. Just Brady and the Bucks have not looked as good as they have in the past few weeks, as when I made that pick previously. So, and I think you guys kind of said it all. Like, KC's offense is so high powered, and Tampa Bay's is too. But it kind of relies on Tom Brady, who kind of doesn't have. He's been on and off this year, and Patrick Mahomes has been on pretty much every game, even the two Vegas games where they lost. So, or the one where they lost and the one where they won, but he still threw a pick. So I think if Mahomes can keep that up and play like he has all season, I think this should be a pretty good game, and I think the Chiefs will come away with it. All right, Sunday night we got an NFC North battle between the Bears and the Packers.
I have the Packers winning. The Bears, obviously, their offense has looked bottom 5 lately. Like, it's looked very, very bad. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, they don't have a great QB, and that's true, but also their offensive line is not very good either. And they don't really have great weapons, and I think you could throw almost any QB into the fire there right now, and they wouldn't find that much success. Really, their only great weapon is Allen Robinson. And I think that the Packers' defense has been pretty decent this year, and I just think the Bears' offense is going to struggle with any defense who is, not horrible. So,
Yeah, I agree with Mattias. I personally think Trubisky is better than Foles, at least from what I've seen this season. I think Trubisky was playing better, and at this point, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a quarterback switch back to Trubisky. And at the same time, I don't know if David Montgomery is back this week, but if not, then you still Cordell Patterson as the starting running back, and that's just really not his strong suit. I think it will help Chicago. They're coming off of a bye. Green Bay is coming off of a tough loss against Indianapolis, but I don't think either of those things are enough, really. I think Green Bay should still pretty easily win this game.
Yeah, I also have Green Bay. I think last week I think Aaron Rodgers played really well last week against Indy. even though it resulted in a loss. And I think that's if he can play like he did last week, I think that should be enough. And the Bears' defense is probably obviously the best part about that team, and the Packers' defense is just as just as good, maybe a little bit worse, but I think they're going to be able to stop the Bears' offense. So I'm going to take Green Bay. And then Monday night we got what could be a possible playoff preview between Seattle and Philly.
Yeah, so I have Seattle. I think, um, although I do have Seattle, I could see this being kind of scarily close for a team who maybe still has Super Bowl hopes at this point in the Seahawks. Um, I yeah, I feel like you know the matchup between these two teams doesn't disappoint a lot of time. Uh, Last year in the playoffs, I feel the Seahawks just probably should have steamrolled over them, but they didn't. It was a pretty close game, but I I just think the Seahawks firepower is a little bit too much for the Eagles.
To me, this almost feels like a no-brainer. I think, I really don't think Seattle should have any chance of losing this game. Like Mattias said, they didn't meet in the playoffs last year. I think both teams are a little different right now, and Philadelphia has played infinitely worse than the team that got them to the playoffs last year. So I think Seattle should win this pretty handedly. Hopefully again by 2 scores. I think Philadelphia is just going to struggle. Again, as long as a good Russell Wilson shows up and he doesn't turn the ball over, then I think Seattle should win.
I agree. I think Seattle should get this, and I hate to say it's a no brainer, but it should be pretty like it should be a no brainer. Seattle looked good against Arizona. Russell Wilson played well. I don't think he turned the ball over. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he did. So if he doesn't turn the ball over and the offense can keep it going and the defense can shut down Philly's offense, then I think this should be pretty easy for Seattle. So, but this could be a game where Philly shows up and actually competes. But I think either way, I think Seattle is the overall better team. So I'm going to take Seattle here. All right, and then so that's it with picks. I do have a few questions if you guys are okay with that.
Ooh.
So, all right. So to start, we got is do you guys think Kyler Murray is an MVP candidate?
Yes,
So
without a doubt. I think especially after the Buffalo game, I think that to me, I don't think he wins. But if you were asking me, who are my top 5 people in the running for the race, I think he'd definitely be in my top 5.
yeah, so I would say like to be I would say there's definitely 3 people in front of him right now, in my opinion, and that's Mahomes, Wilson, and Rodgers. Um, I I think he would have like. I think the QB play this year has been pretty fantastic. Um, I think in any other year he would probably be winning it. Like you've probably all seen the graphics. He's outpacing Lamar from last year, who obviously won it. And I just think that it. I just think he can't quite get over those 3 guys. But if like Hayden said, if by candidate you mean like top 5, definitely.
Yeah, I think. So you mentioned he's outpacing Lamar. He already has more touchdown passes and passing yardage than he did at all of last season, and that's only through 10 games. So, but like me and Mattias talked about it earlier, like he has games where he's like number one in the MVP race, and then he has games where he's probably not even top 10. So if he can play like a top 5 MVP candidate for the next what are we, week 12 now? So for the next 6 weeks, I think he's definitely. He might even be in the running for the MVP award itself. Do you think it's time to bench Carson Wentz?
I'm gonna say no. I don't think that Jalen Hurts. I think maybe next year Jalen Hurts might be ready, but to me, I don't really know if I'm comfortable starting him yet. It all depends. If you're Philadelphia and you want to go to the playoffs this year, even if you know you're probably going to lose in the first round, then I'd stick with Wentz. But if your goal is maybe to try and get a better draft pick and then try and unload Wentz in the offseason for whatever you can get, then I would put Hurts in now. So I think it all depends on what the end goal is for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'd say probably not yet either. I mean, if they are looking to unload him, I feel like it depends whether you think he's going to improve his stock over the end of the year or make it worse, because he's definitely dropped it a lot this year, just from the beginning weeks and all these turnovers. I would say no yet. I would say until you're out of the running for playoffs, I would say you don't bench him. But I definitely think that time could come this season with Washington and the Giants both looking like, and Dallas as well. It's the NFC East is kind of any team. I could see any team making it.
Yeah, it is. It really is just up for grabs at this point. Like they all have 3 wins. So, like, I think kind of like what Hayden said. If you want to get a higher draft pick, then put Hurts in now. But if you want want to make the playoffs, then you keep Wentz in. Um, Doug Peterson said that if you were to sit Wentz, it would send the wrong message. Like, they have 3 wins, but they're not completely out of playoff contention because of how bad the NFC East is. So if they want to keep that lead, then I would say just keep Wentz in until you can make a decision. Like, all right, we're either already in the playoffs or they're like we don't want to make the playoffs anymore. We'd rather just get whatever to improve our team for next year and maybe make it as a 1 seed or a 2 seed or something like that. And then, yeah. So last question is, what do you think will happen first? A Jets win or a Steelers loss?
That's a good question because I don't really know what either team's schedule is, but I do think there's a very good chance, there's a chance that the Steelers could lose this weekend. And I don't really think there's a chance that the Jets win this weekend, so I'm going to say that it's possible that the Steelers lose this weekend. So I guess I would choose Steelers before Jets.
Yeah, I agree with Hayden. I think the Jets are probably going to go 0-16. There's obviously, maybe week 17 or someone, a playoff. Who did they play week 17?
They play the Patriots week 17, so that's probably
okay. So never mind. I was gonna say a playoff. If in the last couple of weeks, if a playoff team sits all their starters, maybe they could win a game like that.
Well, they have the Browns in week 16, which right now is looking like they'll be clinched by week 16, assuming they don't lose out. So maybe that's that game that they can take. But like Hayden said, if the Steelers have a chance at losing to the Ravens this week, and then they have the Bills coming up in 2 weeks, so. And the Colts in 4, so I think the Steelers have more games that they could lose than the Jets do that they could win. So I'm going to take the Steelers to lose. Sorry, I interrupted you, Mattias, so you can keep going.
Yeah. I think it'd be pretty crazy if the Steelers somehow ended up winning out to go 16-0. I've said this to Drew a couple times, I think. they would definitely be the worst 16-0 team ever, probably. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is, like he's had a couple pretty good games, and he's been better than I thought he would. But he's old. He's not who he was, and he. I feel like he has a very good set of receivers to work with. I think it's really been the defense that's kept them where they are right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree they'd probably be the worst 16-0 team ever, but isn't the only other one the 2007 Patriots? Yeah, it's not like they're competing with much for that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think even looking forward, like into the future, like this would be like what are they? They're 10-0. So and they seven games have been 7 of their wins have been to teams that are below 500.
Yeah.
And
hey, going into the season, I thought Baltimore had a chance to go undefeated.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it would actually be Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So
they've definitely
been the NFC, the AFC North this year. They got kind of an easy schedule playing the NFC East. So
yeah. So yeah, I think I think that the Steelers' last 6 games, they got the Ravens, the Bills, and the Colts all mixed in there. So that could be 13-3 right there. So and then another just real quick, like if you're 15-0, if the Steelers are 15-0 by going into week 17, they're playing the Browns. Do you go for the 16-0 season, or do you sit the starters for the playoffs?
Personally, even though this is probably the wrong choice, I would want a 16-0 record. Because that is a huge legacy for your team and for yourself if you're a coach or a player. That's really something you can hang your hat on for your whole career.
Yeah.
And, even though I think we'd probably say not to because there is a lot of risk, I wouldn't be able to help myself. I'd want the 16-0 record.
Yeah, I agree. Also, as the Steelers, I'm not really sure I'd have complete faith in like winning or going past the AFC Championship. I don't know. Like, I think is going to be a real shock if Kansas City loses to any AFC team on the way to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'm not sure I'd have really faith in my team to be able to shut down Patrick Mahomes as the Steelers, even with that good of a defense.
Yeah, I think if it was against the Bengals if Week 17 was against the Bengals, I think that's definitely sit the starters because you'd probably still win with the bench players. But since it's the Browns they could potentially still be competing for a higher wild card spot, so they're obviously going to want to win. And if you want the 16-0 season, you're going to want your starters out there, but there's so much risk involved with that in a meaningless game. Like, if you were to lose Ben Roethlisberger, Minka Fitzpatrick, like Juju, like any of your top players, like that would just hurt for the playoffs. So, yeah, that's why I asked the question, just trying to get your guys' opinion. All right, so with that, I think we're done unless either of you guys have anything else to say.
I'm all good.
All right. So, if you're listening on whatever, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, thank you for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. With that, we'll see you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.